All right. Today is April 4th. We're making it through. And today, we're going to get a little serious. Because the topic of today is a topic that I don't even like myself. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm just going to tell the truth. I don't even like it. And that topic is confrontation. So we're still dealing with foolishness in the month of April. But today we're going to talk about confrontations. And how do we deal with confrontations? What is God's response to confrontation? And what is our response to it? Right? So yesterday we talked about accountability. And we talked about being more open. Not only in prayer with the Most High, but also being more open to one another, our brothers and sisters in Christ. Right? So sometimes when we try to be open with people, we run into situations where confrontation arises, right? We try to tell people how we feel about things. We run into situations where we have disagreements because we feel like the other person doesn't understand what we're going through or is not taking the time to understand what we're going through. And that is another level of foolishness that we have to overcome, right? But how can we effectively confront someone who is heading towards foolishness through confrontation? Well, we can look at God's response to confrontations. In the scriptures, we're going to go through a few. In Ephesians chapter 5, verse 11, it says for us to take no part in worthless deeds of evil and darkness, but instead to rebuke them and expose them. So sometimes confrontation is good because it gives us that opportunity to rebuke and expose things. Now, when we think about rebuke as, oh, God said you shouldn't do such and such. It's for my church people. Or rebuke for, some of my Hebrew friends. We see rebuke as, oh, God's going to judge you. And that judgment is going to be so heavy that the rod is going to come down and crash and da-da-da-da-da. But actually, rebuke is swatting away, like dismissing. So in confrontation, as the passage says, that we should take no part in worthless deeds of evil, right? Sometimes our confrontations are built off of situations that are really not anything to fight over. And so the rebuke is knowing when to dismiss it, right? The accountability that we have amongst each other is so strong that a situation doesn't cause us to break that accountability, to break that truthful trustworthiness, that honesty, that faithfulness, that consistency of love. So instead, we should try to see certain confrontations as a moment to correct that bond and that consistency of love that we have, not only with the Most High and us in prayer and our relationship with Him, but also with our brother and our sister. Think about it. How many situations have you been in? Some of you probably have done this several times. But how many situations have you been in where when you get in a confrontation, the confrontation isn't about you just being right, but the confrontation is about you keeping that connection of love consistent between the person you're having the confrontation or the disagreement with? How many times have you been in an argument with someone, and instead of getting in the argument to get the upper hand on the person because what you might be saying is valid over what they're saying, or to get them to understand or see your viewpoint in a way to where you are comforted by your pride, but instead of doing that, how many times have you been in a situation where going into the altercation, you're thinking of, how do I make this right? How do I make this bond that I have built, this relationship of love and trust that I've built with this person, how do I keep that intact? That's the purpose of rebuke. That's the purpose of exposing things. Sometimes when we see people expose stuff, we see people try to tear down. That's not true rebuke. That's not true exposure. Exposure is to uncover the truth so that the love can stay intact. So when we're in a confrontation, the point of the confrontation is to rebuke, swat away the foolishness, and to leave the love intact for the sake of truth and love. Do we swat away foolishness, right? Titus chapter 3 verse 2 says that they must not speak evil of anyone and they must avoid quarreling. Instead, they should be gentle and show true humility to everyone. This is Paul talking to some of his friends and telling them, hey, these confrontations, these issues, disagreements over these little things, where's the love? That needs to be intact. Stop the quarreling. Stop the anger, the fighting. Stop trying to find ways to separate when you built so much time to come together, right? Instead, be gentle and show true humility, honesty. So in confrontations and altercations with people who you're supposed to be accountable with or accountable to, and people who are supposed to be accountable to you, instead of trying to find a way out, try to find a way to stay in. Keep that love intact. My name is Darren Jones, and that is how you respond to foolishness through confrontation, by seeking to keep the love intact between each other. That is the Manna Moment for today on April 4th.